I am heavy weapons guy. And this is my weapon. She weighs 150 kilograms and fires $200 custom tool cartridges at 10,000 rounds per minute. It costs $400,000 to fire this weapon for 12 seconds. Oh my God, who touched Sasha? All right. Who touched my gun? Some people think they can outsmart me. Maybe. Maybe. I've yet to meet one that can outsmart Bullet.
Heavy! Heavy is a burly super heavyweight who can utilize an incredibly versatile kit in order to do what he does best, which is deal huge amounts of damage and hold his ground in a fight, be it one-on-one or when outnumbered. Much like in Team Fortress 2, Heavy's brutal damage output might make it hard for opponents to fight him straight on, but also like TF2, Heavy will struggle greatly against those that can exploit his very poor mobility, either by catching him in a mix-up or holding him off from afar. When playing as Heavy, it's important to always understand your opponent's mobility options and work around them with either pressure from afar or proper spacing, all while being sure to not get lost in his most powerful abilities, as much like in Team Fortress 2, tunnel vision is a great way to get backstabbed by your local enemy's spy. Heavy stands as a large humanoid character, his height being comparable to that of King K. Rool. When it comes to his basics, Heavy will retain a lot of his main factors from Team Fortress 2, these being a slow walk and run speed alongside an average jump height and a quick fall speed, all of this being offset by an insane damage output and some of the highest defense in the game, as out of all of the mercenaries, Heavy has the highest health pool by far. For his basic animations, a majority of them can be pulled straight from Team Fortress 2, with some slight animation touch-ups, including an idle pose that will change depending on what weapon Heavy is currently using. Heavy will also have a few extra animations, including inspecting his currently equipped weapon and even checking his contract PDA when unarmed. In terms of mobility options, Heavy has 2 jumps along with the ability to crawl. If you're even remotely a fan of Team Fortress 2, chances are you've heard of 2 special words that have served as the bane for casual and professional players alike. 2 words that can turn a match around so fast that even the people involved don't know what happened. Random crits. A cornerstone of Team Fortress 2, every time the player uses an attack, there is a 2% chance for said attack to become a critical hit. The attack dealing 3 times its usual damage and emitting a distinct electric sound when the player fires. Critical weapon shots can be pointed out immediately by either a red or blue glow, although melee attacks will only play a small noise once used. It's this terrifying case of dumb luck that makes up the basis of Heavy's character mechanic. Here in Smash, Heavy has a 3% chance to land a critical hit off of any attack at any time, it being up from the standard 2% of his home game, but in exchange, critical hits will only deal 1.5 times the attack's damage and knockback, which is half of what it is in TF2. It should also be mentioned that, unlike in TF2, the 3% chance remains stagnant and cannot be altered by outside means. As in TF2, the chances of the player performing a critical hit increases depending on how much damage they've done in the past 20 seconds. These big, powerful attacks can easily add huge chunks of damage onto your opponent's percent bar, turning around a match just when things are starting to look bleak. But keep in mind that critical hits can be countered, and while the damage and knockback of these attacks are increased, their shield pressure isn't, so these powerful moves can still be shielded by opponents should they protect your attack. It should also be mentioned that a few of Heavy's attacks are omitted from being able to critically hit, namely his throws, recovery special, and his smash attacks. Now that you have an idea about what to expect from Heavy's character mechanic, let's start talking about the moves that make use of said mechanic and move on to his normals. Heavy's normals mainly consist of hard-hitting punch attacks, much like Heavy's melee weapon from TF2, which is just his fists. While every mercenary in the game has their own unique melee weapon to set them apart from the rest of the cast, Heavy is the only character in the game who fights using his bare hands. And while his fists might not have the utility of other melee weapons, they can still pack a punch and put your opponent down for the count in the blink of an eye. Heavy's neutral combo is a standard melee combo from Team Fortress 2, featuring a pair of straight punches before finishing with an uppercut strike to launch foes away. Originally, the uppercut punch served as the animation that played when Heavy landed a melee crit, but here in Smash, it's simply just a flashy animation to end a combo string. This uppercut punch is also the only attack in this combo that can gain random crits. Forward tilt is Sickle Punch, Heavy attacking in front of him with a wide-hitting hook punch that covers a solid range. This attack is a bit slow on startup, but to compensate for its lacking speed, the first few active frames of this move are armored, allowing Heavy to win trades and punish poor placement in the neutral. Up tilt is Ice Mountain, Heavy performing a high-hitting uppercut strike that will start low to the ground and end high. This attack's wide vertical range making it excellent for both catching a ledge and knocking the opponent out of the air. Like his forward tilt, this move will also be armored on startup. Down tilt is Hammer Punch, Heavy thrusting both of his arms out in front of him to knock out the opponent's balance and launch them away. This move's launch angle is very low and straight, meaning it might set up for an easy KO if used near the ledge, much like Kazuya's forward tilt. Dash attack is Spy Swatter, Heavy charging into his opponent with full force in order to send them flying away. A reference to Heavy's iconic door-shattering tackle in Meet the Spy, this move will be armored on startup just like his forward and up tilt. For his get-up attack, Heavy will attack by swinging his arm around himself, all while attacking with his elbow for his ledge attack. Heavy's smash attacks will put Heavy's strength on full display, but despite this, he will not be alone when performing these moves. When the player charges up a smash attack as Heavy, Medic will appear in the background of the stage and begin to charge his Kritzkrieg, and if the player fully charges their smash attack, it will be a guaranteed critical hit, meaning monstrous levels of damage. Medic will also interact with Heavy differently depending on how long the smash is charged for and if he actually ends up hitting anyone. Should he use his smash attack early and miss, Medic will berate Heavy. Should he fully charge his smash attack and miss, he'll berate him even harder. Should Heavy use his smash attack early and land a hit, Medic will give him a positive remark. And if Heavy lands a fully charged smash attack, the two will exchange a thank you before Medic disappears. Heavy's forward smash is Yeti Smasher, Heavy unleashing a powerful straight punch that will push him forward as he attacks. This powerful blow is armored on startup, but is very slow on the recovery to compensate for its power, especially when critically charged. Heavy's up smash is Double Hammer, this double uppercut attack starting with a low-hitting strike to pop the opponent up off the ground before transitioning into a high-hitting strike to launch foes skyward. This move comes out surprisingly fast thanks to the speed of the first strike, and on startup, the second strike is armored. Finally, Heavy's down smash is Bolshevik Breaker, Heavy performing a spinning lariat in place in order to launch foes on either side of himself. An iconic ability made popular by yet another Russian fighter, Heavy's version of this attack will only hit once, but has a long-lasting hitbox and is armored on startup. While he's mainly designed as a ground-oriented fighter, Heavy's aerial attacks can still pack a punch and secure KOs like the other characters in this weight class. Neutral air is Jumping Punch, Heavy releasing a short-range punch attack while in midair. This move's knockback is very low, but its quick attack speed means it does have Gatling potential. Thanks to this move's speed, it's also Heavy's safest landing option, as it can also link into grounded attacks if timed properly. Forward air is Icy Hook, Heavy punching out in front of him with a powerful hook strike. This move's launch angle will knock the opponent up and away from Heavy, and unlike his forward tilt, this move is not armored on startup. Up air is Mountain's Peak, Heavy performing a pair of upward punches, dealing heavy damage and launching after the second hit. Thanks to its long active hitbox and kill potential, this is Heavy's best move for challenging platforms. Down air is Warbreaker, Heavy performing a heavy-hitting downward punch that will spike foes downwards. Thanks to the length of his arms, this move's range is quite long, but try not to land with it, as this move's landing leg is quite horrendous. Finally, back air is Piston Elbow, Heavy turning around in mid-air in order to perform a powerful elbow strike. This move's damage and kill potential are sublime, but its short range might make it a rather risky attack to throw out in the neutral. Heavy will grab the opponent using his left hand, all while punching them with his right hand for a pummel. All of Heavy's throws are designed to be big, bombastic strikes that show off his raw strength, all save for one, which might come as a surprise. Heavy's forward throw is Warhead Cracker, Heavy grabbing his opponent tightly before headbutting them hard. In this staggered state, Heavy will then toss the opponent away with a single arm swing. This throw's damage is quite high, but it has only okay kill potential. Heavy's up throw is Leaping Crush, Heavy grabbing his opponent and leaping up into the air with them sprawled across his shoulders. After coming back down, the opponent will be launched up into the air after a sickening crunch is heard. This throw is nearly identical to the throw used by King K. Rool, but Heavy's version will deal more damage and knockback. Heavy's down throw is Medic Avenger, Heavy picking his opponent up before bringing them down hard on his knee. After a loud crunch is heard, the opponent will fall to the ground in a knockdown state, much like Snake's down throw does. This throw is a reference to one of the most iconic scenes from the Team Fortress 2 comic, and while it might not have any knockback, it does a ton of damage. Finally, Heavy's back throw is a literal surprise, as just as Heavy is preparing to set up a throw, Spy will appear out of thin air and backstab the grabbed enemy, launching them out of Heavy's hand with serious velocity. This throw serves as Heavy's kill throw, and once concluded, Heavy and Spy will share a small laugh before he goes invisible and disappears. While Heavy's normals are fairly standard in appearance, it's here with his specials that he truly gets to play around with his favorite toys. And it should be noted that this toy chest is full to the brim with various ways to beat his opponent's ass. Heavy's standard special is split into two different abilities, these being Weapon Rotation and Weapon Fire. As the player holds the B button, a menu featuring 3 different weapons will appear in front of Heavy, its visual style being taken from the loadout menu of Team Fortress 2. The player can cycle through the weapons by using the analog stick, and once they've chosen the weapon they want, they can release the B button in order to have Heavy swap to said weapon. First up is the minigun, Heavy's pride and joy. Endearingly referred to as Sasha, this 150 kilogram monstrosity is the cornerstone of Heavy's defensive strength. It's shredding the health of anyone foolish enough to take it on from the front. Though, here in Smash Bros., its firing method is a tad different than it is in TF2. In TF2, the player can hold their left mouse button to rev up the gun, and, after a brief delay, fire the weapon for as long as the button is held. Here in Smash, however, the player will need to tap the B button in order to rev up the weapon's barrel, and, once the revving has started, hold the B button in order to have Heavy fire the weapon. Heavy is also capable of moving forwards and backwards while firing, albeit at a slightly reduced movement speed, and while firing, Heavy cannot turn around. However, by holding the shield button while firing, the player will be able to angle their shots up and down in exchange for being unable to move. When it comes to its damage output, the minigun is designed to excel at close to mid-range, and while it might lack strength at long range, this weapon's small spread means it can still nick an opponent on the other side of the stage. Much like Joker's pistol, the minigun will gain and lose hit stun depending on how far away Heavy's opponent is when he fires, but in comparison, the minigun's rapid spray will lock the opponent in hit stun far more efficiently, along with the gun having a powerful wind box that will shove the opponents back once they're outside of the weapon's hit stun range. It should also be mentioned that, like in TF2, Heavy's minigun will have a set amount of ammo for the player to use, but unlike TF2, there are no ammo packs to help Heavy restore his ammo count. Instead, the minigun's 200-round magazine will slowly recharge over time when the weapon is inactive, recovering roughly 30 bullets every 1.5 seconds. Next is the shotgun, and in comparison to the minigun, this weapon is far more versatile in its usability. Loaded with 6 shells per clip, this high-powered ordnance will release wide blasts of shrapnel that will deal more damage the closer the opponent is to heavy when he fires. But unlike the minigun's rapid-fire pushing foes back, the shotgun shots can be used to confirm KOs and is far more useful in the neutral thanks to its quick firing speed. Also, like the minigun, the shotgun can be fired while moving back and forth, and also while jumping. However, one strength the minigun holds over the shotgun is its ability to continuously fire with no need to reload, while the shotgun will need to reload after every 6 shots. Of course, the player can also choose to reload early by pressing shield and B at the same time with the shotgun equipped. This reload also being cancelable by shooting, changing weapons, or using a normal attack. Finally, there's the sandwich, a delicious sidearm that is designed to help Heavy restore his health and stay in the fight for as long as possible. When this weapon is used, Heavy will bite down into his sandwich, making his iconic chewing noises as he recovers up to 100 points of damage during its duration. However, much like TF2, using your sandwich out in the middle of combat is a rather bad idea, for Heavy is unable to act or cancel this animation once it's started. Granted, Heavy is fully armored during its duration, meaning he can't be launched, but he can take damage, and, more importantly, he can be grabbed, so it's best to use this move either after a KO or when your opponent is on the recovery. Once consumed, the sandwich will go on cooldown for roughly 30 seconds, so make sure you make it count as it's roughly a once per stock use. All 3 of these weapons will be tracked by small icons above Heavy's percent bar, featuring stats such as the ammo count for both the minigun and the shotgun, along with a cooldown tracker for the sandwich. Each icon will also light up to signal which weapon is currently equipped. These are the weapons used by Heavy, and with options like these, it's understandable why he's a force to be reckoned with in a close-range fight. However, while that's the case, Heavy is but one piece of the puzzle in his team's strategy, and in a game like Team Fortress 2, teamwork is important. You're the heart of the team that holds a push together. You give your teammates a chance to move in on the objective and divert all attention to yourself like the tank you're meant to be. But every tank needs DPS to help get the job done, and that's where Heavy's side special comes into play: Team Effort. Team Effort is a variable special that, when used, will have Heavy call out for help. An exclamation mark appearing above his head, much like the visual cue for using voice chat in TF2. After a brief moment, Heavy will be accompanied by one of 5 different mercenaries who will provide him with cover fire, each mercenary having their own unique attack designed to help with different battle scenarios. In total, Heavy can call on the help of the soldier, the demo man, the scout, the pyro, and the sniper, their order being completely random. Thankfully, the player can keep track of which mercenary is up next by the class icon that appears beside Heavy's weapon icons, allowing for the player to set up potential combos that wouldn't normally be possible without outside help, all while expending the specials that they don't need. Let's now take a look at what each mercenary contributes to Heavy's playstyle. Starting with Soldier, this red-blooded American is probably the most straightforward of the 5 mercenaries, as, once summoned, he will fire a rocket in a straight line in front of him. This rocket functions much like that of a stronger version of Samus' super missile, dealing explosive damage and launching opponents away with a surprising amount of force, but as it is a projectile, it can be sent back at Heavy should it be reflected. Who knew that the Star Fox characters were Pyro mains? Speaking of Pyro, this soft-spoken psychopath is, in contrast to the Soldier, probably the most intricate assist Heavy can call upon, as Pyro performs 2 actions as opposed to 1. When summoned, Pyro will light up the area in front of him with his flames, dealing rapid-hitting damage and also inflicting a damage over time effect on the opponent's hit. However, Pyro's flames don't deal any knockback. So to push the opponent out of Heavy's melee range and prevent an immediate counterattack, Pyro will air blast the opponent in order to blast them backwards. While this blast will not deal any damage, this air blast will also serve as a reflector, much like it does in TF2 itself. So even if your opponent stays out of Pyro's range, he can still be effective in a fight. Next is Demo Man, the black Scottish Cyclops himself, bringing his trademark sticky bombs into battle in order to give Heavy a hand. When he's summoned, Demo Man will launch out 3 sticky bombs in front of him, and, after a brief delay, will detonate them in order to create a wide-hitting explosion that can hit multiple foes at once. Out of all of Heavy's assists, this will be the one that takes the most time to master, as the delay and positioning are going to be tough to nail down in a high-paced game like Smash Bros. But if you can manage to get off a sticky bomb detonation on your enemy, you'll find that it's one of Heavy's best stock closers. Next is the Scout, who will utilize his iconic scattergun to deal large amounts of close-range damage. As he is the fastest of the mercs, Scout's close-range blast has the fastest startup of all of the assists, but since it's a single shot, it might require a bit of practice to get the timing down. Finally, there's Sniper, the most powerful assist for a variety of reasons, but arguably the hardest assist to hit with. After being summoned, the Sniper will take a moment to line up a shot, all before firing a single shot that will travel the full length of your average battlefield stage at incredible speed. Getting shot by this weapon will have a screen flash and zoom effect that only happens when the player lands an exceptionally powerful attack, such as Falcon Punch or Force Palm. But thanks to its very small hitbox and quick speed, chances are you might not see this effect very much unless you practice. It should also be mentioned that, while these assists are powerful, they can be interrupted by enemy attacks should they hit the mercenary. As a result, it's your job as tank to make sure nobody gets past you. And don't worry, as much like friendly fire in TF2, all attacks will pass through Heavy harmlessly in Smash. Once the mercenary finishes their attack, they and Heavy will share a small thank you before they disappear. In terms of mercenary representation, 8 out of the 9 mercenaries have been shown off so far, meaning there's only one left, the Engineer. Thankfully, the Engineer gets to show off his tinkering skill with Heavy's recovery special, Teleporter. As this move begins, a teleporter will appear below Heavy's feet, Heavy then disappearing in a flash of either red or blue particles before reappearing in a predetermined location, the teleport exit flashing with the same particles as Heavy steps off and gives a remark.
Engineer is credit to team!
Sharing a lot of the same aspects as Furor's Wind, Heavy's teleporter will snap to the ledge when used off stage, along with dealing a huge amount of damage should the opponent be on top of Heavy when he reappears. In TF2, teleport damage, or telefragging as it's been endearingly referred to by fans, is so strong that it can automatically kill anyone standing on it, its damage even going through Ubercharge. Here in Smash, a telefrag will simply just serve as a powerful stock closer. Also, when Heavy teleports onto the stage using his recovery, there's a chance the Engineer will appear to share a thanks with Heavy when he steps off. So far, we've talked about gun variation, team support, and the most effective way to move across a map. But there's one area of TF2 that is yet to be talked about: melee weapons. Yes, Heavy's fists are meant to be his melee weapon, but Heavy has a lot more to bring to the table than just his bare hands. Enter Heavy's down special, Loadout Change, giving the player access to 5 additional options to help build Heavy into the character and playstyle that they wish to play. You want to play as an oppressive bruiser who can turn any opening into huge damage? How about a more nimble skirmisher who can weave in quick attacks and close-range shotgun blasts to maximize pressure? What about a funny clown who brings his enemies joy by punching them with a crit in the back of the head? All of these are possible using Heavy's melee weapons, these being the killing gloves of boxing, the gloves of running urgently, the fists of steel, the eviction notice, and the holiday punch. Now, it needs to be noted that yes, while all of these weapons will improve aspects of Heavy's character, each of them will also have detriments to prevent them from being straight upgrades. In TF2, a majority of secondary options are regarded as side grades, for when it comes to balance, stock is always meant to stay the strongest all-round choice, and Heavy's fists are no different. Heavy's regular punches are powerful with a decent amount of frame data befitting his weight class, so if you want to stay with what works, keep running with stock. First up is the Killing Gloves of Boxing, a pair of oversized boxing gloves that will give Heavy's attacks increased physical damage, all while also gaining the unique ability to gain a guaranteed crit after successfully landing a smash attack. While this sounds enticing, Heavy's attacks will, in return, become notably slower with the KGB equipped, making it far harder for Heavy to compete in close-range fights against quicker fighters. If you feel like the risk is worth the reward of early KOs, then maybe the KGB is for you. Next up is the Gloves of Running Urgently. These gloves greatly increasing Heavy's ground and air speed and keeping the same level of strength as Heavy's regular fists. However, in exchange, Heavy's weight value will be cut down substantially, making him much easier to launch than before. This might be useful to help close gaps before cycling to a different weapon, but if mobility is valuable to you, maybe you can make the Gru work for you. Next is the Fists of Steel, a weapon often regarded as the meta choice for Heavy in TF2. These gigantic steel gloves will reduce incoming projectile damage and knockback by 35%, allowing Heavy to safely approach zoners and challenge them with weapons of his own. However, in exchange for its defensive power against projectiles, Heavy will take 25% more damage from all melee attacks. It's understandable why this might be considered a powerful choice in a game like TF2, but in Smash, a game where melee combat takes priority, this might be considered a rather situational choice. Next is the Eviction Notice. These brass knuckles giving Heavy's attacks quicker startup but weaker overall damage. Arguably the most straightforward of Heavy's melee weapons, the Eviction Notice might be the weapon for you if you're willing to exchange power for speed. Finally, there's the Holiday Punch, the main weapon of every Hoovie and those just looking to have fun with the game. These adorable winter mitts have the most unique effect out of all of Heavy's melee weapons, as once this attack lands a crit, the opponent hit will be forced to taunt. This effect can easily lead to a combo attack or a kill confirm, especially against characters with long taunt animations. But in exchange, all crit damage is nullified completely, these taunt attacks dealing no damage for the chance to deal even more damage than would normally be possible. This also doesn't affect Heavy's damage nor speed, so if you feel like playing around with one of the most fun weapons in TF2, give the Holiday Punch a shot. Heavy will cycle through these 6 weapon choices in the same manner Min Min cycles through her arms, these gloves swapping quickly with an iconic sound effect from TF2. However, unlike Min Min, Heavy will perform a small taunt when the player successfully chooses a pair of weapons, pounding his fists together in the same manner he does when swapping to melee in TF2. Next is the Final Smash, and there's a good chance you already know what to expect if you know anything about Team Fortress 2. Calling out for support, Medic will rush in from the opposite side of the screen, saw out in front of him and slashing through all opponents in his path. This slash will lock all hit opponents into Heavy's cinematic Final Smash, Team Fortress. As the Final Smash begins, Medic will move in behind Heavy as the other mercenaries arrive on screen in their own unique fashion. Scout dropping down from the top of the screen, Soldier and Demo Man blast jumping in, Pyro and Sniper running in from the back, Spy becoming visible, and Engineer running in carrying a sentry, which he places down. The camera will then pan down to show that the mercenaries are standing on a control point, and after a brief moment, the point will change to their respective team's color, all the mercs' weapons lighting up, showing that they've been awarded crits. In a flurry, the entire team will unload their weapons upon the caught opponents, dealing tons of damage to them before they're launched away with serious force. The team will then share a small cheer together as the other mercenaries exit the screen and Heavy returns to his idle stance, ending the Final Smash. In TF2, if you can't work as a team, then your chances of winning are minuscule, for only together can you truly become victorious, and this Final Smash is designed to represent that fact. Also, if Heavy wins using his Final Smash, the game line will be then changed to victory from TF2. Heavy's victory theme is the iconic ending riff of the Team Fortress 2 theme song. Chances are, even if you're not that big a fan of TF2 or don't know that much about it, you know about this theme. Animation number 1 will have Heavy share a victory screen alongside one of the 8 different mercenaries from TF2, both of them sharing a taunt before posing for the camera. He'll share a high five with Medic and Soldier, perform the flip taunt with Scout and Demo Man, perform the fist bump taunt with Pyro and Spy, and perform the square dance taunt with Engineer and Sniper. Victory animation number 2 will feature Heavy releasing a spray of fire from its minigun as he walks closer to the camera. a reference to the ending shot of Meet the Heavy, TF2's first Meet the Team video. Finally, victory animation number 3 will start with a close-up of Heavy's face before zooming out to show the 9 mercenaries lined up beside one another in the same fashion as the Meet the Team video series. This will always be the victory screen if Heavy wins with his final smash. Team Fortress 2 is no stranger to taunts. In fact, all of the game's classes have at least 4 taunts exclusive to them. However, here in Smash, I felt it'd be better to keep things simple and go with the 3 default taunts Heavy has, with each changing depending on what weapon he currently had equipped in TF2. Heavy's first taunt is his default minigun taunt, in which he'll pick up Sasha and cradle her in his arms. Did you know that Heavy canonically has a special bed made for his minigun?
Kiss me.
Heavy's second taunt is his default shotgun taunt, Heavy spinning the shotgun around as he points at his opponent, cutting his throat with his thumb as he tells them they're dead.
You! Yes, you! You are dead!
Finally, Heavy's third taunt is his default melee taunt, the Showdown. In TF2, this taunt was actually able to instantly kill any enemy in the game, it often being used by holiday punch heavies looking to mess around with the enemy team. Here in Smash, it will do minimal damage, but its knockback is surprisingly high. At high percents, this can indeed be used to taunt kill.
Pow! Ha ha!
TF2 is an iconic game for a grand number of reasons. But if there's one thing that tends to get brought up a lot, and for good reason, it's hats. As a result, I felt it was important to represent that major part of TF2's history through Heavy's colors, featuring a wide variety of classic TF2 cosmetics and other fun references. Colors 1 and 2 for Heavy are based on his standard appearances for both available teams, red and blue, featuring his iconic short sleeve shirt, vest, and bandolier. Each of Heavy's colors will cycle between both teams, each getting 4 apiece. Color number 3 will have red Heavy wearing the football helmet, the very first hat Heavy ever received in the Sniper vs. Spy update. Color number 4 will have blue Heavy wearing the Officer's Ushanka, the first hat introduced in the Classless update and one of the most iconic Heavy hats in history. Color number 5 will have the red Heavy wearing the Tough Guy's toque, the second hat received in the Classless update and the iconic hat of the Hoovy class. Don't shoot him, he's friendly. Color number 6 will have blue Heavy wearing the Hound Dog, a hat Heavy received in the very first community contribution update for TF2. This hat is also quite popular, as it's essentially 2 items in one. Color number 7 will have red Heavy wearing the Dealer's Visor, the first promotional hat introduced in TF2 and a reference to Heavy's appearance in the game Poker Night at the Inventory. Finally, color number 8 will not be blue Heavy wearing a hat, but will instead turn Heavy into the Robo Heavy seen in Man vs. Machine. This costume will also change Heavy's voice and idle animation, along with changing his sandwich to the coveted Robo Sandwich. Also, when Kirby absorbs Heavy, he'll gain a copy of Heavy's bandolier and gain access to Minigun. Yes, this is yet another instance of Kirby using a gun, though something tells me he's never handled anything quite as heavy as this. Team Fortress 2 is a game that will always continue to live on as a legend of the FPS genre. With a cast of immortal characters, a lovable world and aesthetic, deep and worthwhile gameplay, and one of the strongest communities on the internet. Next to the likes of Doom and Half-Life, I feel TF2 has its place amongst the legends of those that came before it, and it's because of that I feel Heavy's inclusion in a game like Smash Bros. Just makes sense. His visual design, his world, his weapons, they all feel like they'd fit perfectly alongside the characters of Smash without ever feeling like they'd be potentially too realistic next to other characters. I find it really hard to choose between both Heavy and Gordon Freeman when it comes to a Valve character for Smash Bros., as both are not only iconic and easily recognizable, but they are both characters that can easily transcend their original media, if SFM and Gmod are anything to go by. I honestly wish I could just have them both, but alas, the chances of Valve actually getting a character in Smash are rather low as it is. Maybe one day that dream will come to pass. But for now, I'm just going to keep voting for both of them to make it in, because as far as I'm concerned, this game desperately needs more FPS characters, and when it comes to FPS characters, you can't go wrong with Team Fortress 2. If you like what you saw, feel free to like and subscribe, as there is more content coming in the future. Also, follow me over on Twitter to keep track of what's coming next, all while being the first to see any and all updates I make. And let me say right now that there will be a channel update coming very soon. I'll be seeing you all again soon. So for now, take care, stay safe, and remember to have a good one.